man who kills a member of the British royal family is actually a master terrorist and bomb maker from the real IRA who was responsible for the bombing in Omaha in 1998. And he is a guy that went out into the world after peace came to Northern Ireland and sold bomb-making technology to the highest bidder. And I wish I could say that I created this, but it is true that, you know, when the war ended, there were a lot of very talented bomb makers and terrorists with nothing better to do, and they went out and sold this technology and this know-how to people. And one of the places they ended up was the Islamic Republic of Iran.
In the late 70s and early 80s, in Belfast, you'd get from from SAS sources, British Special Air Services, as well as CIA operatives in Belfast at that time. They would tell you that there were Iranians in Belfast, that there were many members of then the Red Brigade, I believe, was one of the big terrorist groups there to learn bomb making.
And they, first thing that we have to keep in mind is that IRA were incredible bomb makers, very, very good at what they did. I mean, you remember the terrible bombing campaigns at Bishopsgate and Canary Wharf. Those bombs were built in Northern Ireland and South Armagh, assembled, smuggled onto the mainland, moved into London. They're very, very good at what they do.
When I was growing up in the UK, you had no trash cans anywhere.
No trash cans.
In the subways, in the stores, because that was where...
But there was so much cross-pollination that went on in the 70s and 80s. Between the IRA, the PLO, and all these other fringe leftist groups, and it took place largely under the auspices of one Muammar Gaddafi. They trained together in his camps. This is something that takes place in this novel. And look, I think we've established that virtually all the Semtex that the IRA used in their bombs came from Gaddafi, virtually all of it.
Years ago, I had a friend of mine, a Catholic priest from Belfast. He called me one day. I was in Boston, and he called me to see if I could get a friend of his who had just arrived in Greater Boston a job. And I said to him, I said, well, Sean, I said, well, what does he do? And there was a pause on the other end of the line. He said, well, he's sort of an electrician. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, Mike.
And a good one.
Isn't it amazing as we talk about this? It's just amazing that peace has come
to Northern
Ireland, and one of the most remarkable
let's not get carried away.
We don't want to get carried away, but one of the most remarkable figures is actually Jerry Adams, a guy that obviously is still under suspicion for Mountbatten's murder, but the fact that he's been able to hold the peace on his side without being assassinated. Now, every time I say this, one of my Irish friends whose family was in the IRA, she goes, it's not over yet.
No, it's
not over yet.
And let us also...
But the bombings that Caddy was talking about growing up, I mean, it seems like we'd always see every year or two a bombing at Harrods at Christmas time.
I mean, the big difference is there was a route to negotiation. The IRA was an organization with which it was possible to hold negotiations. There was something they wanted. There was something we could give. That is not true with Islamic State. It's not true with Al-Qaeda. It's a non-negotiable organization. Okay.